So, this is not going to be the kind of content you're usually used to seeing from me. It's recorded on my mobile phone for a start. I just have some things that I feel like I need to say, and I want to say them to a camera to try and get some of other people's thoughts, to try and get some conversation going. I'm literally sat in the middle of painting a commission right now. But this is just all I can think about at the moment, so I want to get it off my chest, and I want to encourage you folks to talk about it and share your thoughts. It came to light, at least to me, this morning, that Guy from Midwinter Minis had recently had a claim filed against him by Games Workshop for a video he made reviewing Warhammer Plus. Now, there's an amount of obvious rage that just that is going to spark, and that's not what I want to talk about. That's not what I'm here to address. Games Workshop have a right to defend their intellectual property, and they should defend their intellectual property. I have been wholeheartedly in support of that from the word go, but that's not what this is. Reviews are a separate thing. Reviews exist to provide consumer information based on the opinion of the reviewer. There is a thing called fair use, which says that you can use other people's IP for purposes of explanation and review and things like that. But whether or not you are falling under fair use can only be decided by a trial, essentially by court. So the fact that fair use exists, and thank you to Leaky Cheese for pointing this out to me, that in itself isn't a protection. It is a defense after the claim has been made, but the claim can still be made. And once that claim is made, what can and does, and in this case has happened, is the ad revenue from that video, instead of going to Guy at Midwinter Minis, now goes to Games Workshop. So why is that a problem? Why is that upsetting? Well, it's not in and of itself. If it's a genuine IP claim, then that's what should be happening. The people who hold the IP should be the ones making money off of it. But we have to draw a line of distinction between fan content and reviews. Reviews are important. Reviews give different perspectives based on subjectivity about a product, and they allow people to decide how they feel based on how much their views usually align with the views of the people reviewing. You know, we have reviewers that we trust for things. For example, when I bought my first knife as a professional chef, the brands that I were looking at were the brands that Anthony Bourdain recommended, because that was a chef at the time whose thoughts and feelings and observations on professional cookery very much aligned with my own. So reviews are necessary, and they're important, and they contribute. And for the most part, most of us that make that kind of content, myself included, we try to mostly focus on the positives. And so whilst we will try to be fairly critical, we will try to say, this might be a problem for some people, or this might be viewed negatively by some people, but we don't tend to just slate things for the most part. And so the end result of that is that pretty much every single review out there is positive. It yields a positive result for the thing being reviewed. It's very, very rare that a good reviewer will just slag off a product, because if you've got nothing good to say about a product at all, if there are no merits to it, there's little point in reviewing it. So it puts some of us in a bit of a bad place when things like this are happening. It's got me very scared, and that's why I have all these thoughts on it. I'm not outraged, I'm not angry. Like I said at the start, I think GW should defend their property. But I'm scared, because I'm not trying to infringe on their copyright. I'm not trying to infringe on their intellectual property. But it's certainly possible that I might by accident at some point, and I can't afford a court case. And I don't just mean financially. I'm not in a position emotionally, mentally, even time-wise, with how busy I am with work. I'm just not in a position to do that, to have to defend myself for the sake of making a video. So regardless of whether it's right or wrong that they make these claims, I think a couple of things that we have to acknowledge is that reviews are important, they have their place, and that reviews of all things have to fall under fair use. So why are claims being made against reviews? The initial discussion, and again, Guy pointed this out, he posted on Reddit about it, was that a lot of people just assumed it was a bot that picked it up because there was about 4 seconds of audio in his video that belonged to GW, and so a bot trawling for that audio might have picked it up, and that might be why he got claimed. Guy since showed a screenshot that proved that that wasn't the case. The message from YouTube saying that it was a manually filed claim made by the claimant, which is obviously Games Workshop. And so where it becomes a problem is because I think most people find it very unlikely that if that went to court, Guy would lose. I think most people suspect that that's definitely fair use. What he actually did, for those who haven't seen it, and I do recommend you go and check out his Warhammer Plus review so that you can understand, is a lot of his fans thought that GW used one of his songs on one of their new animations, and so he played 4 seconds of his song and 4 seconds of their song roundabouts, literally to illustrate the point that it wasn't his song, that they didn't steal his song. And so, that there's no IP theft being done there, and I don't think anyone thinks it would hold up in court. I don't think anyone thinks that it would be a problem, that it wouldn't go through. And so what that tells us is that if they're manually filing those claims, and they're claims that it's pretty obvious aren't going to go in their favour, it's very hard to not feel like they're doing it just for the inconvenience that it will cause, to basically discourage content creators talking about their products at all. Which might well be the case, because Games Workshop have always been the kind of company that want everything to be first party. I mean, for God's sake, they repackage cheap clippers and sell them at 20 quid with a first party logo on them. They are that kind of company, and love them or hate them, that's always been the case. They want everything to be first party. So maybe they also want all of the conversation about their products online to be first party and or first party endorsed. They want to control the narrative, essentially. And as a business, you can get why they might do that. But as a content creator, and I'm sure Guy's probably feeling some version of this as well, I can't speak for him, but I would imagine so. Having pressure put on you about what you can talk about when the point of what you are trying to do is just discuss things with people. The point of a review is to just discuss things with people. It's just to say, here's what I liked about it, here's what I didn't like about it, what do you think? And get conversation going. A review isn't trying to hurt anyone, it's not trying to steal anything from anyone, and the fact that that review is monetized is because Guy put a lot of hard work into making it. I put a lot of hard work into making my videos. I know how difficult and how taxing it can be to continue to regularly release videos, and I don't shoot to the same level of quality he does. I don't compose my own music for my videos like he does. God knows he works even harder than I do, and I know how hard I work, and it scares me. It genuinely makes me fearful that we might be getting punched by this company just for talking about their products. Not because we're doing anything that we can't do or that we shouldn't do, but just because they don't want us to do it, and so to try and discourage it, they'll rampantly file claims against everything and then let it get sorted out in the wash. That might not be the case, and I'm not trying to fearmonger. I want to be super clear about that. And I'm not angry. I'm just scared. I'm just really scared, because YouTube is only a small part of my livelihood, but it is growing. It is becoming more of my livelihood, and I don't feel like talking about things that I'm passionate about should be something that a company is allowed to have a stranglehold on. That concerns me. It genuinely concerns me. And I've been talking about this all day on Twitter, and there were a lot of interesting backs and forths because initially we didn't know that it was a manual claim, and so everyone was like, "Oh, it's probably just a bot claim. Don't worry about it." And I was like, "Oh, great! If it's just a bot claim, I won't worry about it." And then it came out that it was a manual claim, and it's like, well, no shit, they're actually deliberately doing, or someone is deliberately doing this, and so it's it's just a time to be concerned. And I'm not going to lose my head over it. I'm not going to go crazy over it. I'm certainly not calling for anyone to get mad at GW about it, because I can absolutely guarantee you that what they think they're doing is what they need to do to set an appropriate precedent so that they can defend their property. And they should do that. They have to do that. Is this particular case a mistake with Guy at Midwinter Minis? Of course it is. It's obviously a mistake. They shouldn't have done it. And I hope they realise they shouldn't have done it and they undo it, because they have the power to do that. But the general attitude of aggressively protecting your property is unfortunately something that you have to do these days, because if you don't defend it, you lose your right to defend it. And then when you need to defend it because somebody is actually ruthlessly trying to steal your shit, you can't, because you didn't defend it previously, so there's precedent. So I get it, and I don't think we should be angry at them for it. I don't think we should be having a go at anyone over it. But it is a concern. It's a genuine concern that I have. And so ultimately the conclusion, the thing that I wanted to kind of say is that just while this shakes out and we're trying to get the lay of the land and figure out what things are going to look like going forward under GW's new IP policy, what people can do without attracting their negative attention and what people can't do, I am going to elect personally to decline from covering their products for the time being. This isn't a permanent thing. This isn't done out of spite. It's done out of self-preservation, pure and simple. I'm going to make the choice to not talk about GW products until such a time as I know what I can and can't do safely. And I hope everyone will understand why I've made that choice. That it's not because I'm pissed at GW. I don't think you should boycott GW over it. I don't think it should be sensationalized. It is just simply something that I feel I have to do to protect my livelihood and ensure that I can keep doing the thing that I love to do, which is talking to you folks about the thing I'm really passionate about, painting miniatures and collecting miniatures and playing games with miniatures and all of that stuff. So, for a while at least, until we know what's going on long term, I'm not going to cover any GW stuff. Now that's fine, because right now I'm not super interested in GW stuff anyway. I don't really like the current edition of 40k. I have no interest in the current edition of Kill Team, and I've never really had an interest in their fantasy games. Played a bit of Warhammer Fantasy Battles years back, early 2000s, but it's just never really been my cup of tea. So you're not really going to get anything that you're not going to lose anything that you might expect to get from this channel, but you're not going to see the occasional GW pieces that have been cropping up recently, just for the time being, because I don't want to upset them. I don't want to get into trouble. I can't afford court cases to defend my media, the things that I create. And so it's the safest way to go forward. It's the smartest way to go forward, and it's hopefully the way that's least likely to upset anyone as well. But I wanted to make this video to talk about it, to see what you folks think about it. Are you, as my audience, okay with me not covering GW for a while, or do you think that that's a cop-out? Do you think that I'm just being a bit weak by electing to skirt around the issue instead of potentially facing up to it? Personally, I think it's the smart thing to do, but you might feel differently. So let's talk about it. Let's get a thread of comments going and discuss what we think the shape of things to come might be, what we think their actual real world treatment of content creators is going to look like going forward. Because make no mistake, Guy is the single biggest channel in the UK that covers hobby. He's one of the biggest channels on all of YouTube. The fact that he's been targeted for this and none of the many, many, many other Warhammer Plus reviews, including the one that I made, have been targeted, it's very hard for that to not feel deliberate. So we do need to maybe consider what effect that's going to have on content going forward, what other things they might decide that they need to go after in order to set an appropriate precedent and be able to defend their property. It could affect more things than we think, and instead of getting crazy about that and going mad, we should just chat about it. So let's chat about it. Thanks for watching, folks, and yeah, drop your comments below.